It's just gone 8 o'clock. A very good morning to you. The funeral of Free State Education MEC Tate Makgoe is being held in Bloemfontein today. Makgoe and his protector, Warrant Officer Vuyo Mdi, died in the early hours of last Sunday morning after their car hit a cow on the N1 near Winburg. Makgoe has been granted an official provincial funeral category 1, which means that it will have a prescribed police ceremonial honors. Let's now cross to our reporter, Makgoe in Bloemfontein. Makgoe, a very good morning to you. A warm welcome to Morning Live. We believe that there are several dignitaries there that have arrived at the funeral service. Set the scene for us of what we can expect today and who we expect to take to the podium.
Well, the former freedom fighters remains have arrived here at the South Campus at the University of the Free State. I'm just going to ask my colleague Kwazimanzi just to show you the procession there as the remains of Tate Makgoe arrive at his official Category 1 funeral declared by President Ramaphosa, where the Minister of Basic Education, Angie Motshekga, will be speaking. You remember the political history of Tate Makgoe. He is a former operative of Umkhonto Wesizwe who hails from Tumahole, just outside Paris, who died untimely last week in a horrific car accident. As you can see, his remains arriving here at the South Campus of the University of Johannesburg. You'd remember also that Tate Makgoe played an instrumental role when it comes to uplifting and ensuring that he increases the education pass rate of the province of the Free State. He excelled exceptionally in his role. As you'd remember, he took the province when he was first appointed MEC of Education back in 2009, when he took this province from a percentage of 69.4%, and more recent in the 2002 matric pass rates moved the province to 88.5%, which was the highest performance of the Free State province when it comes to the matric results. He is also part of those whom were part of the underground structures of the African National Congress when he went to study chemical engineering back in what was then known as the Vaal Triangle Technikon, now the Vaal University of Technology. Was part of the Stumahule Students Organization, which brings with his passing an end to many years of struggle and sacrifice for the betterment of the people of South Africa and also for the community of Tumahule in advancing the struggles of the people and also uplifting the community of the Free State province as a whole. He was one of those who spoke out against and encouraged students not to take mathematical literacy but to study mathematics core and also to study physical science, as he was a chemical engineering graduate who was enthusiastic about the education sector within South Africa and who had a particular keen interest in speaking. As you can see there, the police officers that is part of the procession which will usher the remains of Tate Makgoe, who spoke extensively about the role of education, was particularly keen in encouraging the youth when it comes to issues pertaining to robotics and the fourth industrial revolution when it speaks to the evolution of mankind and also the evolution of humanity as a whole as it moves into a new era of robotics. As you can also see, one of the mayors of Letswelepule, the regional chairperson of Letswelepule, who is also working in alongside the Deputy Minister of Education. They are also going inside. I'm just going to grab him for a quick comment. Just your quick comment on the lives and times of Mr. Tate Makgoe as the regional chairperson of Letswelepule.
He is really simply the best, both in the ANC, in life in general. In his deployment as MEC, when he was leading elections for the longest time in the province. He sustained the ANC. He retained us as number one in education. May his soul rest in peace, and condolences to the family and all the loved ones. Indeed, the ANC is shattered.
Thank you very much to the regional chairperson of one of the regions here within the Free State Province, Litswalepule region. He is the regional chairperson of that region. We also did see the former Secretary General of the ANC, who is also here, who is also the former Premier and former Provincial Chairperson of the ANC here in the province. That is Mr. Ace Makgoe. He is also here. He is also scheduled to provide and say a word or two at this funeral of Mr. Tate Makgoe, who he worked with extensively in the years of a struggle and also within government as well. You can also see one of the leaders of the ANC. This is Mr. Bonagele Machuba, who hails from the Mpumalanga province. I'll just like to quickly have a quick comment from Mr. Bonagele Machuba. Mr. Bonagele Machuba, you are coming from Mpumalanga. Just a word of the passing of Mr. Tate Makgoe.
Well, I want to pay our condolences to the family of Mr. Makgoe and the entire government of Free State, because as you know that he was an experienced MEC. We're all learning from him. We lost a lot as a sector.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bonagele Machuba. Mr. Bonagele Machuba is the MEC of Education coming from Mpumalanga province. You can also see with the visuals my colleague Kwazimanzi is going to show you now of Mr. Mxolisi Tukwana, who is the provincial chairperson of the ANC in the province and also the newly appointed premier of the Free State Province, who worked extensively with Mr. Tate Makgoe in the underground of the ANC and also worked together in the provincial executive committee of the province since the first provincial conference of the ANC after the unbanning of the ANC. Remember the Velcom trialists, where Tate Makgoe was part of that particular trial and imprisoned for 4 years, and he was ultimately released in 1991 after he was working with the underground cells within the ANC operating in Botswana and also Lesotho, where he was trained in the underground. As you can see, Minister Ng Motshekga as well, who's worked extensively with Tate Makgoe within the education sector, and Mr. Matole Motshekga as well, as Mr. Ng Motshekga will be speaking on behalf of government at this official Category 1 burial of Mr. Tate Makgoe here within the Free State Province, whom they've got a very extensive history together. I'm just going to also bring in now Mr. Ace Makgoe, who is the former premier of the province, who worked extensively with Mr. Tate Makgoe, not only within government but also within the underground of the African National Congress. Mr. Makgoe, just your word on the passing of Mr. Tate Makgoe, your history together within the UDF. You come together from Parys to Mahule and ultimately working together in government and in the ANC.
Well, if I have to talk about Pule Herbert Tate Makgoe, I'm sure I can take almost the whole day. He was indeed a community leader because he emerged out of community struggles. He was an actor because Fezile Dabi used to write plays. These are the guys who love people like Gibson Kente, Bongeni Ngema, and they wrote a play called Can It Be? And in that play, Comrade Tate was called Katsi. And he was passionate about education because in the 80s, before we came into government, we established what we call Tumalo Education Crisis Committee, and we also established a Career Guidance Center. That's where the passion of education comes from. And during weekends, we were teaching kids around Parys, Sasol, Vredefort, as many as well from Potchefstroom. Comrade Tate was working, was in the underground, and I'll be able to cite a lot of people who were worked with in the underground, this unit. Guy, one of the comrade, General Moadira, who was one of the generals and the head of the army in the Free State, was the one who actually also worked with Comrade Tate. The likes of Mayeles, Potsanes, Tsutsutsu, and he loved education.
Mr. Makgoe, just as the remains of Mr. Tate Makgoe go inside this particular hall, what is one of the key memories that you will take with yourself about him as you ultimately lay him to rest today? As you can also see the family going to the funeral service of their father, uncle, and brother.
I just want to say farewell to the great man, the man who did not talk a lot, the man of action, the man who was passionate about education, a real comrade, a person who participated in struggle, the man who took out many young people outside of the country in exile, Tate Makgoe, the nation builder.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ace Makgoe. As you can see, the remains of Mr. Tate Makgoe, a freedom fighter, a son of Parys, a son of Tumahule, a man who was imprisoned for 4 years with the Velcom trialist, a man who was sent to the underground of the ANC, who went to underground military training in Lesotho, in Botswana, who came back to operate in the underground cells of the ANC, transporting weapons, which was for the ultimate freedom of the liberation of South Africa. It ultimately speaks to the role that the Kingdom of Lesotho, Botswana, and neighboring southern SADC countries have played in the liberation of this country. As you can also see, the family of Tate Makgoe going in to the main entrance of the South Campus Hall of the University of the Free State. Just, Mr. Makgoe, as I bring you in for the last time, Mr. Tate Makgoe and yourself took over the government of the Free State in 2009, after the 2009 elections, and ultimately he took the province from 66.9% matric pass rate and ultimately just last year to 88.5% in matric pass rate, which was the number one spot in the country. What are some of the main attributes you can contribute to his success within improving the education system of the Free State?
Well, his passion for education, but his fact that he was working with a collective, the fact that we adopted what we call Operation Hlasela. Hlasela with education, Hlasela poverty, Hlasela all the social ills. The man who, when we decided that we must give student bursaries, we also agreed that let's give them also the necessary tools like laptops. And when the many children passed and universities of South Africa could not accommodate a lot of them, we decided to take them to Cuba, to Russia, to Germany, to Portugal, to Turkey, to Belarus, to Bulgaria, and we even took young people to places like Angola to learn about our history, Kuto Carnival. We took them to Tanzania to learn about Solomon Mahlangu High School. We took them to various actually places, took them to Lesotho. Because of his passion for education, he was an engineer. And remember, he was an MEC for finance, he was MEC for agriculture, he was MEC for tourism, and lastly was MEC for education. And he was also the chief whip in the legislature.
Thank you very much, Mr. Makgoe. This is ultimately going to be the funeral service of Mr. Tate Makgoe, who is a hailing liberation icon within the Free State province. But as much as the ANC basked in the glory of Mr. Tate Makgoe and the Free State province, it was ultimately Gwede Samson Mantashe, then national chairperson of the ANC, after the 2019 general elections, when Tate Makgoe was ultimately low down in the ANC province-to-province list of deployees to go to the provincial legislature. It was Gwede Samson Mantashe who said, you cannot remove Tate Makgoe. He is the rising star within the ANC, and he is the one who has ultimately shown good governance when it comes to the ANC in the Free State. And it is Gwede Mantashe who lifted him up in 2019 ANC province-to-province list in the province of the Free State, and ultimately made sure that he comes back as an MEC in the province and as a member of the provincial legislature. But now he is no more and will ultimately be laid to rest, leaving behind a good and excellent track record and of governance within the education sector.